In the far north, where dawn often arrives like a pale whisper across a frozen horizon, Viking longhouses held a quiet secret coded into their very foundations. Every doorway, every ridge beam, every threshold turned toward the rising sun. Travelers from distant lands noticed it first, puzzled by the uniformity. But to the Vikings, this alignment was neither coincidence nor superstition. It was intention carved into timber. An east-facing home was a declaration of how they saw the world, a silent agreement between people and landscape. In a land where the nights could stretch endlessly and sunlight was a rare and precious visitor, the direction of morning mattered. It shaped warmth, rhythm, hope, and the way a family met each new day. Across Scandinavia, the landscape itself demanded respect, sculpted by icy winds, towering fjords, and winters that pressed down with a darkness few outsiders could endure. In such a world, the design of a home was more than preference, it was survival strategy. The longhouse had to stand firm against storms rolling in from the Atlantic, shelter livestock through blizzards, and hold enough warmth to keep a family alive until spring. Every beam, wall, and earthen mound responded to nature's terms, shaping structures that blended function with instinct. And as the North tested them with each passing season, the Vikings discovered that aligning their homes toward the east was not merely practical, it was a pact with the elements, a way to meet the harshness of their world with quiet, enduring wisdom. In northern latitudes, sunrise was not just a moment in the day, it was an event that shaped human survival. After long winter nights when darkness stretched endlessly across frozen fields, the first light emerging from the east carried warmth, direction, and the quiet promise that life would continue. By facing their homes toward that glow, Vikings captured the earliest rays as they spilled through doorways and across packed earth floors, warming the hearthstones before the day had even begun. In a climate where every degree of heat mattered, these thin threads of morning sunlight lifted spirits and regulated the rhythms of daily work. The longhouse became a vessel designed to greet the day, to harness what little light the season allowed, and to tether an entire household to the steady breath of the rising sun. From the Atlantic came winds that could tear roofs apart, driving sleet sideways and burying settlements beneath drifts taller than a warrior's shield. These storms almost always approached from the west or northwest, carrying a bitterness that seeped through timber and bone. So the Vikings turned their backs to them literally. By orienting their longhouses eastward, they allowed the thick rear wall to shoulder the violence of winter, protecting the doorway, the hearth, and the family's daily movements from the full force of the gale. This simple choice reduced heat loss, kept interior fires alive, and created a calm pocket in which daily life could unfold. The east-facing entrance became a refuge, a deliberate shield against nature's fury, allowing the longhouse to endure season after season in a land where survival depended on anticipating every storm before it struck. For the Vikings, the rising sun was more than light breaking over the horizon, it was a symbol woven deep into their cosmology. In Norse belief, dawn marked renewal, the moment when the world stirred again under the watch of the gods. To face east was to face beginnings, to acknowledge the daily rebirth of life itself. Many longhouse rituals began at first light, from tending the hearth to offering quiet thanks for another day of strength. The direction became a spiritual anchor, guiding not only the structure of their homes but the rhythm of their identity. Even in the harshest winters, when sunrise was little more than a faint glow, families gathered near the entrance to watch the horizon brighten. In that moment, the east was not merely a compass point, it was a reminder that every day started with possibility. Inside the longhouse, the hearth was the heartbeat of survival, its flames lifting smoke toward a vent carved into the roof, and its warmth radiating across packed earth and woven mats. By facing the structure eastward, the Vikings shaped airflow in ways that kept this fire alive. Morning light poured across the threshold, igniting embers with renewed heat while the prevailing western wind struck the back wall, pushing smoke upward instead of swirling it through the living space. The layout flowed around this center of warmth sleeping areas, workbenches, storage rooms, all organized to capture the steady, predictable draft that an east-facing design created. In these wooden halls, families cooked, forged tools, shared stories, and endured winter together. Their daily lives made possible by a structure that understood the wind as well as the people within it. For a Viking farmer, time was measured not by clocks but by the shifting place of the sun on the horizon, and the orientation of the longhouse became an anchor for that rhythm. Facing east allowed families to watch the sunrise migrate along its arc through the seasons, marking when to sow barley, when to bring livestock down from the high pastures, and when winter's grip was near. Each dawn offered clues. The angle of the light, the length of the shadows, the warmth carried on the breeze. These subtle signals formed a living calendar etched into daily life. Standing at the doorway, a farmer could read the year as clearly as any written chart, aligning chores, travel, and harvest with nature's unfolding cycle. In this way, the east-facing home was not just shelter, it was a tool for understanding time itself. Long before magnetic compasses guided explorers across the world, Vikings relied on the sun, shadows, and memory to navigate both land and sea. An east-facing home gave them a constant point of orientation, a fixed reference that aligned their daily movements with the path of the story. Each morning, as light spilled through the doorway, it reaffirmed direction north to the left, south to the right, west at their backs. This consistency shaped their sense of space, helping children learn the land and guiding travelers returning from distant fjords or forest trails. Even during overcast days, when the sky blurred into a blanket of gray, the longhouse itself served as a grounded compass, reminding its inhabitants how the world was arranged. In a culture built on journeys, exploration, and memory, this simple architectural choice helped anchor every step they took. Across Viking settlements, longhouses rarely stood at random angles. Instead, entire communities aligned their structures in quiet unison. Each doorway turned toward the same eastern light. This shared orientation shaped the village itself, creating predictable wind corridors that funneled cold gusts between buildings while protecting gathering spaces and workshops. Shadows fell in coordinated patterns, allowing neighbors to anticipate warmth, dryness, and the safest paths through snow-packed lanes. The result was an orderly landscape where homes complemented one another, forming a collective shield against the raw northern elements. In this alignment, there was a sense of unity, a settlement breathing as one, built not by chance but by a shared understanding of how to tame the land. The East became the heartbeat of the community, guiding its structure and its spirit. Every Viking morning began with a ritual shaped by the first light that slipped across the threshold. Families woke to the faint glow creeping over wooden floors, stirring embers in the hearth before tending to animals or stepping into the crisp air outside. Children learned early that the day started when the east brightened, not when voices or footsteps called them awake. Meals were prepared near the doorway where sunlight was strongest, and tools were checked or sharpened in that gentle illumination that softened the harshness of winter. In these moments, the orientation of the home became more than architecture, it shaped the tempo of life itself. Dawn was a reminder of resilience. A quiet ceremony repeated each day as the longhouse welcomed the world's renewal from the very direction it trusted most. Archaeologists studying Viking settlements across Norway, Denmark, and Iceland have uncovered a striking pattern. Post holes, foundation lines, and charred remnants of walls all point toward the east. This consistency is no myth. It is measurable, repeatable, and woven through centuries of construction. In reconstructed longhouses, researchers tested these ancient choices, finding that east-facing entrances captured more morning warmth, reduced smoke stagnation, and offered better protection against storms. Wind tunnel models showed how rear walls deflected western gales, while sunrise angles confirmed the usefulness of light during winter's brief days. Each excavation and experiment revealed the same truth. The Vikings were not aligning their homes by chance or superstition. They were engineers of their environment, merging tradition, observation, and survival into a design that proved both practical and enduring. When Vikings ventured beyond their homelands, settling Iceland's volcanic plains, Greenland's harsh coasts, and even the woodlands of Vinland, they carried their architectural compass with them. Despite new terrains, unpredictable skies, and unfamiliar winds, their longhouses continued to face east, as if tethered to the sunrise they had known since childhood. This choice anchored them emotionally as much as physically, offering a sense of continuity in places where everything else felt foreign. The orientation created familiar rhythms, morning light entering at the same angle, the day beginning with the same quiet glow. Even far from Scandinavia, the east-facing doorway became a piece of home transplanted across oceans, reminding settlers of who they were and where they came from. In distant lands, the rising sun tied them back to their origins. For the Vikings, the world was never divided cleanly between the physical and the mythical. Every gust of wind and shift of light carried meaning. Facing their homes eastward blended these realms, uniting practical knowledge with the stories that shaped their beliefs. The sun's rise was seen as a pathway of gods, a daily victory over darkness, and a reminder that creation was renewed with each dawn. Yet beneath that spiritual symbolism lay hard-earned wisdom, warmth captured early, storms avoided, smoke guided upward. In this meeting of myth and science, the Longhouse became a testament to a people who read the natural world as both teacher and storyteller. They knew survival demanded understanding the land, but thriving required honoring the forces that moved through it. Today, the remnants of Viking longhouses still stand in scattered fields and museum reconstructions, their foundations tracing silent lines toward the same eastern horizon. At sunrise, these places feel almost alive. The light slips across ancient thresholds just as it did 1,000 years ago, illuminating wooden beams and earthen floors with the same quiet warmth. Visitors who stand in those doorways often describe a strange sense of connection, as if time folds and the breath of the past drifts through the morning air. The orientation reveals itself not as a relic of superstition, but as a window into how the Vikings saw their world, balanced between harsh reality and enduring hope. Even now, the east-facing design carries the weight of tradition, guiding us to see what they once saw in the first light of day. In the end, the Viking choice to face every longhouse east was far more than an architectural habit. It was a philosophy carved into the landscape. To greet the sunrise was to greet life, to turn toward beginnings, warmth, and resilience in a world that demanded strength from every soul who called the North home. Each doorway framed the horizon like a promise, reminding families that even after the longest nights, light would always return. This simple orientation connected villages, shaped rituals, guided travelers, and carried the culture across oceans to distant shores. And though the beams have fallen and the fires have long gone cold, the logic endures. Survival is found in aligning oneself with the forces that sustain life. For the Vikings, that direction was and always would be the East.